Welcome. My name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is an interesting phenomena that goes on with us as people, but a lot of stuff I realize, stuff that's going on with these dogs is kind of just stuff that's going on with us. And the more and more that I just started to just really go deeper into the understanding of certain problems that we have as humans, the more and more I start realizing how things would just get simpler and simpler with the dogs. The thing I want to talk about today is some more trauma and what trauma can do and what trauma can bring. Trauma can bring addictions, as I've been saying over and over, and that's just a, I'm going to say it straight up like that. It's just what it is. That's a fact. Trauma brings addictions. It's good ones, bad ones. You don't deal with what's going on with you, it's going to end up more than likely being a bad case. And it's going to be a situation that you're just constantly on edge all the time. Just constantly just in this, I don't know what to do and I don't know where to go. And what trauma does is there's a few things I've been talking about when it comes down to these addictions. But today, the one I want to talk about is the being a people pleaser. Being one to just, the main words I want to use here is just straight up with it is we'll lie to try to get people to like us and get people to like pay attention to us because it's all that we know how to do. Because if we actually like said the truth, then we assume or something happened to us in our past and our history that has made that Johnny, get out of here, man. Johnny, get out of here. Johnny. In the past that has led us to realize that telling the truth gets you in trouble. Telling the truth puts you in a sticky situation. Telling the truth gets you damaged. So the only way to really get someone to really pay attention to you is to lie. And the lies are what I believe is what's challenging to these dogs. Because we want to try to be something, but we're actually just not that. And a lot of this, again, stuff that most cases we're not consciously doing. We're just doing. And we're just living in this land based on what has happened to us. We're just like living based on our past and not living like right this moment. Who are you? What do you want to do? What do you want to make happen? Because that's what the dogs represent. Dog's not going to lie to you. Dog's not going to do anything. But what starts to happen in this people pleasing situation, you start to lie, I'm going to almost guarantee that you're going to start to have conflict with the dog. Because the dog is going to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. You said and were about doing this, but now you're doing this over here. So now I don't know which side to go with here. I don't know who to believe, who to listen to, what to make happen here. So now the dog is going to run into run into a situation that it's going to start to have no choice but to give pushback. This is something that's very, very interesting. I was thinking about today is the concept of these puppies. And why doesn't your puppy listen to you? Why does the puppy want to run away from you? It's a weird concept to me in reality to really think about. Like every young dog that I've ever raised is like 8 week area range. Like they want nothing but to be with me, nothing but to be next to me. Even back when I was like hostile and wild and crazy, like they still wanted to be with me. And when a dog doesn't want to be with you, it just really makes me think about the concept of the one thing that I just stopped doing when I was like a real late in my teenage years is lying. I just was just straight up, even if it just would make someone mad. I'm just gonna say what it is. It just is what it is. And I realized like that is a key thing that just really challenges these dogs. And once we start lying, the dog is trying to figure out where to go. And once we're trying to please, now we're gonna put ourselves in a sticky situation that we actually don't want to be in. This is the part where I think that a lot of us fail with these dogs because we're putting the dog in a situation that you are uncomfortable with, but you're standing there with this fake persona like, I'm happy, I'm good to go. And then the dog starts to sense that, and the dog is like, what's going on here? What's actually happening? So the dog gets into a level of confusion. And one thing that we like doing, that when our dog is like said, not paying attention to us and not listening to us, we like to go to these puppy classes. And that's where I believe that the trauma in the dog starts to really amplify. Not that being around a bunch of dogs is a bad thing or anything. Just being around a bunch of dogs and not actually wanting to be there is the bad thing. This is the part that I believe a lot of us get very, very confused with what it is that we're doing because we're saying that we want something, but yet we're wanting something actually completely different. We just don't have it in us to like speak up and say something about it. We just shut it down and just, okay, oh, that's what you're going to tell me to do, and that's what I have to do. And it just goes on across the board, male and or I should say, is it the right way of saying it? Man and woman, both sides of this. This happens. Children, especially children. Oh my goodness, this just goes on across the board. That you don't want to speak up because someone is going to, I don't know, not agree, not like is the word I really like to use there, and you're going to feel isolated. But when you don't speak up, when you're doing something that is making you uncomfortable, that's going to start to translate, and you're going to start to see that in more and more places. That's why personally me, I just believe that a lot of the dogs today that are reactive on leash is there because you actually want it. You want that. You desire that. because you don't actually want to be in the places and be doing the things that you're actually doing, but you're able to hide it, but your dog isn't able to hide it for you. And you enjoy it. And if you get the dog to said stop doing that, you're looking for that somewhere else. That's why a lot of this stuff, I realized that I say when I stop the dog from pulling on leash that we find stuff later on. But to me, that's more of we didn't deal with what we were actually looking and desiring. We're looking for something to get done, but we weren't strong enough, I would say, to speak up and say, this is actually what I'm looking for. This is what I need. This is what I desire. Because at the end of the day, straight up, if you want your dog to be able to be on alert and be on guard and be able to know how to effectively handle the situation, that can be done. But you have to work on the dog to get it to be done. You're not just going to wake up one day and it's magically going to be there. So you can have that dog that you're looking for, but you have to put in the work. The work is required to be able to get what it is that you're looking for. But most cases, we're just accepting what someone is telling us that we want. And that's just, we're just, okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll accept that. It's all right. As opposed to just standing up and just realizing that's not what I want. That's not what I'm looking for. Being a people pleaser is very, 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 very damaging, because it can put you in a situation that stuff is happening to you that you do not feel comfortable with. Stuff is going on with you that you just you have zero desires to want to do. But yet you put on that smile like everything is good. And then once you put on that smile and you start to put yourself in different obligations, now you just can't really back out because you want to please, right? So when someone says, "Oh, you like this," even though the word I would like to use there straight up is hate it, you want to please so much that you're like, "I'll do it," and then you get in it, and then you do it and do it and do it. You know what starts to happen in that? You can deal with it for so long. You can make that work for so long, but something's going to happen at some point, someday, that you're just going to have an explosion. And everyone around is going to look at you like, "Whoa, what is wrong with you? What is happening with you?" And in reality, all that does is double down into you having a show to be a people pleaser. It doesn't actually help you. It makes it worse. It lets you really know, I need to lie better. I need to hide better. I need to mask everything better. I can't actually show who I am because you see all the people rejecting me after I had this blow up, but not realizing you had to blow up because you're trying to be something that you're not. You're not. You're not what you're trying to portray. And it's something that we all need to just really look hard and have a good understanding that more likely the day that you decide, you know what, I don't want to people please no more, you're probably going to lose like 80+% of the people that you talk to because they're only there to do something based on you just want to. The best way I can say it is you want to try to help out, but you're not one that actually wants to help out. You're trying to do something, but you actually don't want to do it. So you're putting yourself in a situation that you're only doing it and it just annoys you. And for a little while, you're going to be very lonely, I guess is the word that I use, because you think you have no one to talk to. But in reality, the people and the situations that you're putting yourself in is actually just making yourself worse and worse and worse. And then that's when you end up in that situation with this animal that starts to get worse and worse and worse. Because a dog, it has to show what's going on. It has to show what's going on. It has to be what it is in that moment. It can't deviate from that. So when a dog is barking in my face, it looks like it wants to bite me. I'm just gonna, in my mind, look at that dog and assume. I don't want to say assume, but straight up, that dog is wanting to bite me. It's doing what it's doing. The dog is growling at me and it's standing stiff and it's hovering over something. I'm gonna look at that dog and say, you clearly don't want me to touch that. You're growling over that. I'm gonna have to look at that and understand what the heck is going on in that moment. But now this would be, oh my goodness, how challenging our world would be, people. If our dogs were able to lie, if they were to hide their emotions, if they were to just not really just express everything that's really going on with them. I mean, more of us today we'd probably be getting destroyed by these animals if that was the case. But since they're not that way, they have to be what we actually truly are. And when we're sitting here trying to hide and trying to lie and trying to manipulate and trying to do all this stuff, our dogs aren't going to be able to keep up with that. And that's why for in reality, for me, I've seen this. I've seen transformations of people's dogs that I've just watched over time. You know, people, neighborhoods I go to and everything that I work with, I just see people with dogs and I just see in reality, unfortunately, most just keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Because the dog starts off with sometimes, and I've seen this in a lot of young puppies. They do the barking and the lunging and all that stuff. It's like cute. It's fun to them. They're like prancing about it, like, arf, 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 arf. And you're like, look at this little cute little thing. But when it's like 16 weeks old, it's semi-cute. But when it's like 16 months old, it's now looking dangerous. So the dog is like doing this cute little stuff. It kind of starts off cute. And then it starts to turn into something that starts to frustrate the dog because it can't keep up with that. It's not what it's capable of doing. It's not what in it to be able to handle. I could never expect like I don't even know which one of these dogs, but any of them to be on alert, on guard, 24/7, to be able to get the threat out at every little bump in the night, every single bump in the move, every single FedEx guy that drives by, every single time I take him for, he can't be on alert all the time. The dog is going to just have an explosion. The same explosion that we have when we're hiding and masking and not showing who we are and not explaining and speaking up about what it is that we actually like and don't like. That we're gonna have an explosion. So the dogs do the same thing. And when a dog gets to that point that far, what do you think is gonna happen in the end now? Now the dog don't trust you. Now you gotta figure out something with this animal to be able to figure out how to be able to get this trust back. There's something that was very interesting that I always thought of when I started working with dogs is we almost need like everyone wants to have better success with dogs across the board. We need to have like this like a dog swap go on. Everybody raise your puppy, but as soon as your dog gets to a certain age of, I would like to say, like when it gets like serious disobedience that you see from it, let's switch now. Switch with your neighbor. Both y'all get border collies. Don't get no border collie if you live in a neighborhood. Both y'all get, there we go, Doberman pinchers, and you raise it up and then just switch once that dog starts to just get like basically a year, 16 months, 17, 18 months old, when you're gonna start running into, I don't know what's going on. Because more than likely, that dog doesn't trust you anymore, but your neighbor, it don't know. And your neighbor comes in with, hey, how's it going? Let's go for a walk. And it's gonna be so beautiful with them because it's gonna be able to instantly trust them when they don't see any like hostile, weird stuff going on. But what happens is we have to now build that trust back from that dog. It's not a matter of us just saying, I trust you, so we're good to go now. No, if the dog don't trust you at all, it's not gonna wanna do a single thing for you at all. It's gonna look at you and just say, I don't want this. That's the whole reason for, in reality, dog training. To convince your dog to be with you because it doesn't want to be with you. You're forcing a dog to stay with you because the dog doesn't want to stay with you. When I'm saying dog training, I'm coming down to the side of it that most and pretty much I don't get a call because someone's like, hey, how do I teach my dog how to sit? I don't even get a call to like, hey, my dog is a little hyper. Can I get it to calm down? I get a call because my dog is doing something savage right now. It's bit someone. It's looking crazy. It's about to bite someone. It just chases dogs and it's pinned dogs down. It's biting dogs. I get those calls, and most trainers, that's the calls that we get. Now, if you're a different type of trainer, I'm going to say, like you do sport stuff, agility stuff, yeah, you don't just, it doesn't make any sense to you. But people are calling most trainers because you have something going on that you're just like, I'm a little nervous right now about what's actually going on in my life. I'm nervous about this dog could put me in a sticky situation. And when we're coming into those cases, it's a whole different situation that's going on here. I'm not worried about getting the dog to sit. I'm not worried about getting the dog down. I'm not worried about obedience with the dog because obedience is just going to cover up what's actually going on with the dog. Because when you see the dog and the dog is looking crazy, I have to assess the situation of why is the dog crazy and not just shut the crazy down. Because then the crazy is just going to come up somewhere else. When that crazy comes up somewhere else, now we're going to run into a very, very, very sticky situation that we didn't really get anywhere because it's going to show up in another place. And the main thing that really goes down is we have to build the trust with the dog. And the second that we come in and we start to put a lot of control, a lot of force, a lot of dictatorship, a lot of control and influence on the dogs, the more that they're going to want to get more and more further away from us. And that's when you need more and more pressure and more and more and more. You just need more. And you're just on edge all the time. You're coming into a situation that the dog doesn't trust you. Now we're forcing the dog to not want to trust us even more and more and more and more and more, as opposed to getting a dog to actually want to be with us and actually want to do stuff with us. And that's the part of, in reality, we can help a whole lot of people out. Your dog is giving you a lot of pushback. Find that dog sport that's going to be able to work for you and your dog. And I'm going to almost bet and almost guarantee that you're going to see things get much, much nicer for you. But not perfect, because if you're still doing the same old stuff behind closed doors, you're still going to see the same stuff most of the time. But you're going to be able to deal with it and tolerate it more. But what really needs to go on is for us to just really understand. I know that we want everything so perfect and so precise in our lives. We want everything to just look so great. We want everyone to just like us and be cool with us and be fine with us and be happy with us. And in reality, you can get to that point. But you can only get to that point when you're just being real. And when you're being real, that's the hardest thing to transition from being fake and phony, basically. Because you have to, oh man, that's the best word to use right there. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be open. You have to know that someone is not going to like you. If someone's going to look at you and just say, oh, forget about you. I don't care about you. And that's hard to deal with when all you're trying to do is make sure that you please everybody. And every time that you're trying to please, the more and more you're going to notice things around you in your environment are going to be just really, really toxic. Really, really just chaos. It's going to be that way because you're not representing real. And that's what gets the dogs to not want to trust you, because you're not representing real. You're representing some fake fantasy, some foolishness. You're not representing what is you're not being consistent. You're not being real. You're just being some caricature. I think I said that right. And that's something that the dog is not going to be able to bond to, because a dog is going to be, I don't know what's going on. It's going to be dancing around. It's going to be nervous. It's going to be that concept of walking on eggshells. Is it okay now? Is it okay now? Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? And then a dog, it's going to traumatize the animal. And then the animal doesn't want to be near you. And then you try to force the dog to be near you. Now you're just destroying all of any sort of relationship you had with that animal. And then you just double down into that. Now we're in that case. Now, why is my dog trying to bite me? Why is my dog just getting worse? Why isn't it getting better? I'm putting more training on it. I'm doing more. I'm doing more. I started with the treats. I was getting somewhere, and then I had the leashes, and I got somewhere. And now we're just, where are we? I don't know what's going on. Because the dog doesn't know what real is. The dog is confused at all times. Like, one minute you're just hippity ha, everything's cool. And then the next minute you're just like, I hate the world and I don't want to be here. The dog is looking at that like, what the heck is happening? What's going down here? One minute you're like taking it for a walk. And then the next week you're, I don't care. I don't want to do anything with it. Because what starts to happen with being a people pleaser, you burn yourself out really fast, really easily. You can't keep up that persona. You may be able to do it for a couple of months. So your dog may have like 3 good months with you. We're like, hey, we're out in the public, we're going places, and you're just, say, not a person like that, to be all downtown and all in the mix and all in the dog parks even, and not going there, but just say you're not one to like, I want to go talk to 20 people at the park today. You're just, I want to be at the park. But your fake persona that you have to put on to try to make sure that everybody likes you, you have to talk to the 20 people. You can keep up with that for 3 months. And then after that 3 months, you have that burnout. And that burnout kicks in. Then what happens? That's when you have to, in reality, give up on the dog. You give up on the animal because now you can't keep up with it anymore. You're too tired, too frustrated, you're quick to anger. You're just mean and mad and angry. Angry is what I want to say right there. Anger is not something that we should be in. If you get that, it should just come and go and just disappear from you. But you start to get angry because you can't keep up with that. And then we have to show the dog that. Now the dog is going through these loops. And we're saying, why isn't my dog this and why isn't my dog that? Because my dog doesn't know anything about me. My dog knows that everything could be good, but it may not be good. And the dog doesn't know how to like figure out what the heck is happening here. So the dog has to have no choice but to, in reality, get the heck away from you. They have to get away. This is just the weirdest thing that I just see. I just get so many posts on our little neighborhood app here thing about this area about so many missing dogs. And someone's like, oh yeah, there's more missing dogs today because more people have dogs. But I'm like, but compared to 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't have like, but then there's more people that live here since 5 or 6 years ago. But in comparison, we didn't grow like 20 times in the past 5 years, but we have like 100 times more missing dogs going on out here. Like the dogs just don't want to be around. Dog doesn't want to be around people. The dogs are always constantly trying to run away. And that's where dog training comes in, you know? Like I said again in the beginning, dog training comes in when the dog isn't doing something because it's looking wild, like such as running away. Now I got to force the dog to stay with me. Now you're going to put a level of force onto that dog. Now that dog really does not want to do anything with you. That's why your dog will only perform when, oh, there's a treat in my hand, it'll perform. Oh, when there's a collar on, it'll perform. But if it doesn't have that, it's not going to perform. It's not going to want to be near me. It's not going to listen to me. It's not going to do anything to me. Because now we got the dog into that level of fear that it has to or else. But once you release that fear, now what? Now where are we? And this is why for me, this is something that at the end of the day, it's not an easy fix. As much as I want to say it is, like, we can just fix this overnight. We're good to go. No, this is something that's going to take time to give some self-realization of what's going on with you. Who are you? And why is it that you need everyone to just like you? You need everyone to be cool with you. You need everyone to validate and appreciate you. As opposed to knowing that more likely half the people on this planet just don't give a crap about you. But you want the 100% of people to like you. So you'll lie to get people to like you. You'll do crazy stuff to get people to like you. As opposed to just accepting the fact that not everyone's going to care about you and just moving on with life. That's something that I want a lot of people to think about, is trying to do something that you just are not all about, that you don't really care for, but you're doing it to try to please somebody. And in the end, when you think that you please somebody, you think that you please yourself. But in reality, all that's going to happen is someone's going to come in and just start to take advantage of you. And then that's when the real drama really kicks in. But that part right there is the next part of what I'm going to continue to keep talking about. Because when we are vulnerable in a way of wanting to please everybody, you're going to get someone in your life that is going to take 100% advantage of that. And they are going to beat you down and destroy you to your nothingness. I just want someone to really think about that. Thank you. Hey, everybody. You can go. I don't know why I never thought that a dog could be traumatized in reality in life. I thought that, like, in reality, sometimes I just look at dog, I just think, like, and straight up, be honest, like, this is a dumb dog. I used to think that for a long while in my life. It's just a dumb dog. I could do whatever I want to the dog. I could yell at the dog. I could beat the dog. I could whip the dog. I could keep the dog locked up in a crate. I could do whatever I want. And the dog's going to listen to me. And I've come to realize, like, that is just not true at all. That these dogs can end up mirroring us, is the way I want to say it. They can start doing things like we do. But the dogs aren't capable of hiding what we do, where we can hide what we do. We can lie. We can put on these fake personas. But the dog can't do that. So when I see the dog doing something, I'm always like, what's going on with you? That's my number one. I don't know why, but I still just it's like a perfect fit. Every time I see an extremely anxious dog, I am speaking to an extremely anxious human being. I don't know why. It's just like it works together. It just I don't get it, but I see that happen. Even though the human is standing there looking at me all tough and all strong and all like I'm put together, I'm good to go. But I can see what's actually really going on. Because the dog can't do that fake persona that you put on. The dog is just being what it is. And in most cases, what happens, why the dogs look fear is, I don't think for what people think is what it is. It's the opposite effect here. A very, very anxious person is a scary person to be around. So things start to become in fear around a very anxious person. That's why the dog is looking anxious, looking scared. Not because it's being the same anxious that you're anxious. No, it's anxious of what's going on because of you being anxious. And that's a weird thing. It's not like you're both scared of the same stuff. But that's just what I constantly keep seeing. When I see a very, very, very just those dogs, some of these dogs, I've got one, unfortunately, and I'm working on to help him through it. Some of these dogs are just, well, he's not so much anymore. They're pushy, man. I mean, she was like, I mean, you see her play sometimes. She's throwing hands on dogs. She's like, she like, I'm controlling this game right now. She don't do it much anymore. She's getting out of it. But when I first got her, I got her in a sticky situation a couple of times with Johnny, all the dogs, because she just comes in and she would just throw her hands on them, like and then she's just standing on them, just doing this, and I'm like, dude, just so disrespectful. Yeah, she really doesn't do it too much anymore, but she did that when I first got her, and my dogs looked at her like, you, who the heck do you think you are? And I could just see that, like that pushiness, that extreme, just I don't want to say that word, but just like mean, man, just mean. Then it gets me thinking, like, on the other side of that, who is that person? Who is that person that's getting that dog to think like in reality that that's acceptable, that that's okay? And for me, I have to go again on the opposite side of that. Someone that thinks they're tough, but they're not actually tough. And that's the part where we get into sticky situations with the dogs, because we try to portray something, but if we're not going to be able to follow through and keep up with it. And then the dog is just going to start to display the downfalls, basically, that are in there. They're going to start poking holes in you. And I just see that more and more and more. Now, when I'm looking at these dogs, I just realize how in tune with us they actually truly really are. They're like, the only way I can say it is they are our prisoners, man. They're in tune with everything that we got going on. They're paying very, very close attention to everything with us. And in some places that we're lacking, they'll like try to fill that void. In other places that are good to go, they're just like, okay, just relax. So when I'm confident, good to go, the dog's like, okay, I could just relax. I could just hang out. But if I start to get nervous, the dog is going to start to like need to do something. But then that's where we run into a sticky situation, because not all dogs, not many dogs, can keep up with being that like confident leader. They break down. And that's why we see a reactive dog, because they're breaking down. They can't handle it. That's why they look crazy. A real protection dog, they are sound. They are like, you see my border collie when he's barking at a car that's coming down the driveway or down the driveway, you'll see a dog that is he's on mission. He's not nervous. He's standing there. He's not doing this running around, which he is focused. He is like, I need to get you out of here. And the dog, not all dogs are capable of that. And in him, He knows it's only that he needs to worry about. It's not like every car, every person, everything. If that was the case, he would be burnt out and he would look crazy. The same way that a lot of y'all's dogs look, because they're handling stuff that they can't handle. They're doing way too much, and that way too much that they're doing, it's driving them to absolute insanity. Like the same way that you drive your own self in insanity by doing stuff that you can't keep up with. And it's just, you do it, and you burn out, and you have a blowout, and then you have to isolate and shut down and go away to rebuild yourself back, and then come back out into society again. And in those loops, that's what's destroying not only this concept here of destroy a child way more than it destroyed a dog. And it's stuff that's just constantly going on today. We wonder why a lot of people are just so damaged today. It's like, pay attention to what was around you when you grew up. It's one thing that we get, that everyone can say, even come down to science, is your environment does a lot for you. Just the environment. So if I take your dog and I bring it here, it's going to do something. And if you take my dog and do something, it's going to do something. The environment is changing. In the environment, there's one key ingredient in the environment that changes things the most, is the human. And the human in that environment is what's really dictating what's going on around. Because you could take this goes on a lot. I've done this with dogs. I've taken troubled dogs and I bring it here. I don't care. It's not the fact that it's the land. It's the person on the land that's managing the land that's going to be able to get the dog to get in a better place. That's the main thing that I think a lot of people need to focus on.